It's official. This is way worse than we thought. The Ravens have a extremely tough schedule that could open up the season in a very difficult and disheartening way for Ravens fans. Let's go ahead and get into it. But first, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all your Ravens news and updates. We're going to have a lot of stuff about this schedule going up on the YouTube channel, but also everything in the offseason as well. And then once we get into the season, we'll be diving into all of the pregame previews, post-game recaps, everything that you need to know during the season as well. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and keep it right here on Digest Media. All right, everyone, so big news. The schedule came out last night, and I fear that this is going to be a very, very tough start for the Baltimore Ravens. A little while ago, we just talked about how the Ravens' strength of schedule is easier this year, and it is, but they loaded a lot of that difficulty in the schedule into the first couple weeks of the season. So let's go ahead and talk about this first opening weeks of the season. So in the first round matchup, first week matchup, the Baltimore Ravens play, that's right, the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Bills are favored by 2.5 in this game to start. We know this is going to be a toss-up type game. I mean, this was a heartbreaker for Ravens fans last year, this game, and we're loaded right back into it. I actually kind of love this from a scheduling, if I was a neutral fan in this perspective, to kind of see how the Ravens respond after that game. But, one thing that makes this difficult for Ravens fans is, you have this game, and it's good to see. It's going to see how the Ravens match up. But then, right after that, you've got a difficult stretch. Now, the next game is the Browns, so we'll discount that for a second, because I feel like the Ravens should win that game. The Browns are a little bit of a mystery this year, but I'm not expecting much. But then the next week after that, they've got the Detroit Lions. We know the type of run that the Detroit Lions have been on these past couple years. They are nearing the end of their window in terms of, if we think about it, the NFL is 2-year blocks. You have a kind of a 2-year window to win. 3 years at max. The Lions have been to the playoffs the past couple years and made deep runs. And look, this is going to be a very, very difficult game. This is one that you could see the Ravens losing, just like the Bills game. It's kind of a toss-up between two talented teams, I would say. And then in week 4, you've got the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, everyone knows, for those of you who don't know, the recap, we are 1-2 away from beating the Kansas City Chiefs last year. And this was an excellent game to start. So as a fan, I'm loving, when I say fan, I mean just an NFL fan in general. I love that the Ravens are loaded up. There's going to be some high-powered matchups early in the season. Now, as a Ravens fan, I think there's a possibility, and this is just my take, that there's a real possibility that we could go 1-3 to start the year. Now, last year was an 0-2 start, losing to the Chiefs in this game and then the Raiders. And, a 1-3 start is not the end of a season. But we see with a team like the Bengals last year how a very difficult start can kind of bleed over into the season. And, of course, by the time they were able to turn things around, they had left things in someone else's hands. Now, yesterday in the video, I talked about how the Steelers, Browns, and Bengals all have a similar strength of schedule to the Ravens. Being about that same reason, I still do feel the Ravens can win the division this year and should win the division this year. But this is a very difficult, thing that I think people sometimes forget about sports. There's a momentum factor. There's a charismatic factor. Now, the Ravens, this 4 weeks is really going to demonstrate who they are as a team. Okay, they're really going to show us what this Ravens squad is made of. Can they stay locked in, even if they take some defeats early in the season? Now, a great article by Ryan Mink came out last night, and it was 5 takeaways from the Ravens 2025 schedule. So I want to read some interesting quotes from this article. Let's go ahead and dive into that article now. They have a stretch of 3 straight home games from weeks 5 to 8, then 3 consecutive road games from weeks 9 to 11, followed by 3 straight home contests from weeks 12 to 14. Within these homestands and road trips, the Ravens will play 5 of their first 7 games at M&T Bank Stadium. They'll wake up in their own bed for a full month, September to October 29th. After the 3-game road stretch from Halloween to November, the Ravens will also finish the season with 3 or 4 road games, including likely frozen tundra of Lambeau Field in late December and a regular season finale in hostile Pittsburgh. Now, the Ravens have struggled with Pittsburgh, and that's hopefully it doesn't come down to that game. But it's interesting to think this is kind of like a baseball schedule in this fact that we have a 3-game home stretch, an away stretch, a home stretch, an away stretch. It's very back and forth this season. I'm not sure what to think of this. I feel like it allows you to get into a rhythm, but I'm not sure what quite to think of this. Let me know in the comments what you think of the home and away kind of stands that the Ravens have this year. Another quote from this article: bye weeks run from week 5 to 15. The Ravens have had late buys the past 2 seasons, week 14 last year and week 13 the year prior. Both seasons, the Ravens used the late break to recharge and finish strong. They went 4-1 after the break in 2023. Rested starters in week 18 and 4-0 last year. This season, the Ravens will break in week 7, which is on the earlier side. While it may not be as physically rewarding as previous seasons, it can be more mentally beneficial. The early bye will give Baltimore the ability to make changes after that tough 6-game opening stretch that will give them a good understanding of their strengths, weaknesses, and what they'll need to do again to beat the best teams. So, we didn't even talk about the Texans and the Rams. The Texans, I think that is the harder game out of the two. But if you're talking about that first 6, but really that first 4 that I was honing in particularly on, you're going to need to make adjustments. You're going to need to reset as a team. Hopefully those games go well. But if they don't, the bye game is a great opportunity. And I like this early bye for the Ravens. Once again, let me know in the comments what you think about that. But I think that early bye is actually a great thing for the Ravens because their schedule is so difficult early in the season. And then one final thing that I wanted to pull from a quote here from Ryan Menk's article is: after back-to-back years on the road for Christmas, the Ravens will be home for the holidays in 2025. There's no Christmas game for Baltimore, and the Ravens will play host to the Bengals on Thanksgiving night in a stuffed, yes, pun intended, M&T Bank Stadium with a 8:20 p.m. kickoff. Ravens fans have enough time to watch the parade, eat their turkey and gravy, and still take a nap before the action starts. It's the perfect holiday schedule. Now, there's not much to say about this, but, Thanksgiving football, it goes together. It's great to see your team actually playing on Thanksgiving. You don't really want to watch, at least for me, the Lions and the Bears over and over and over again. It's better when that game goes down easier when your team is playing on that day. So I personally love this for the Ravens. And then I did actually just want to pull one more quote from Mink. Lamar Jackson has been arguably the NFL's most exciting player for years, which has elevated the Ravens from being not just a very good team, but a very good team with must-see offensive players. Thus, the Ravens' slate of having only 4 primetime games is somewhat surprising. Baltimore had 8 nationally televised games last season. The Ravens will play on Sunday Night Football in Buffalo to open the year. A matchup against the leading NFC contender Detroit was deemed sexy enough for Monday Night Football. 2 weeks later, M&T Bank Stadium were rocking for that one. Since 2008, Baltimore has only had 5 home Monday Night Football games, which is tied with Houston and Jacksonville for the fewest during that span. Now, I think, with the Monday Night Football thing, it's very interesting that the Ravens have been disrespected in this way. Lamar Jackson has been disrespected. The first video I ever made on this channel was talking about how Lamar Jackson was disrespected by giving the MVP to Josh Allen. And this just confirms it right here. Monday Night Football, it's been a rarity for the Ravens at home. So I don't have anything else to say on that besides, the disrespect keeps going. One extra point I wanted to make is make sure you check out the Ravens schedule release video. I thought it was very creative. It was from the show Severance, kind of a parody of that, featuring Ravens GM Eric DeCosta. Make sure you go check that out. It was fun what the teams do with these schedule releases now. All right, everyone, make sure you let me know in the comments what you think about the disrespect the Ravens getting Monday Night Football, the Thanksgiving game, and the very difficult schedule that the Ravens had to open up this season. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling about the schedule, and keep it right here on Ravens Digest. My name is Sam Stewart. We'll see you next time.